Anti-Afro Svengalis. I am following up on the Tory Lanez case slash trial slash conviction. Legal name Daystar Peterson. I am letting you all know that the video that I posted several days ago that listed May 8th as the sentencing hearing, that was pointed out as incorrect by someone who was leaving comments here. And that is the hazard of trying to cover a trial that is not broadcast. This is the reason why I did not cover this trial as I had planned. And after the trial testimony or the verdict was rendered, the court started releasing transcripts of the proceedings because cameras were not allowed. And I found so many more incorrect statements and assertions and reports that people were delivering from the trial, like outside. So much information was incorrect. It was very hard to figure out what was going on exactly. I went to the criminal division and was able to pull up what's happening now in terms of the calendar, and this is what has come up. Today, it says May the 9th, will be the sentencing hearing. I want to point out the heading on this hearing is probation and sentencing hearing. That's an all-inclusive title. Whether or not a person is going to be eligible for probation, that's still going to be the name of the hearing. When talking in general about the second charge here, or the second conviction that he received, carrying an unloaded firearm and carrying an unregistered firearm, it is altogether possible, and it actually does occur, that a person can be placed on felony probation for these charges. That's possible. But likely that would have to be the only charges the person has, and all other factors point in the direction that the person is productive, otherwise willing to be law-abiding, and all these other factors. These factors don't apply to Tory Lanez. And it was repetitive. This is going to enhance the sentence that the judge hands. This is going to add to the sentence that the judge hands down. Don't forget the August Alsina accusation. That very well may come up during this sentence between 8 to 10 years. May 8th, yesterday, there was a hearing on the motion for a new trial, the beginning stages, because it's going to go up the appellate level. I'm assuming he's not going to stop here if the judge denies the motion for a new trial. Getting a new trial isn't about, I didn't get a perfect trial. It's about, did I get a fair trial? And is that fairness so compromised that it would potentially impact a jury's verdict or a judge's verdict if it was a bench trial, but this was a jury trial. And I don't see anything that's going to get to that level. Now, what I want to do, I want to focus on one thing that the defense attorneys, the new defense attorneys, because Tory Lanez changed legal counsel after he was convicted on all charges. And again, I'm putting up the charges that he was convicted of. Yes, okay, you have some time because you have new counsel. They need you to read the transcripts. But I also think it was a stall tactic. You can't necessarily deny request for a new attorney, especially if you're paying. Now, if you were being covered by a public defender, changing an attorney within the public defender's office is very difficult. If you're paying, it's a lot easier. That's just the way it goes, people. There has to be a very compelling reason why the judge is going to allow someone who's being supported by public funds to get a new attorney. Anyway, that is not even the case in this particular scenario. So Lanez was complaining about when he had photographs taken, like all defendants do. All defendants are photographed when they're arrested. So they were addressing gunshot residue, and they were saying it was prejudicial that he had a gun tattooed on his body. Well, who tattooed the gun on his body? Was it forced? No. He made the decision. It would be much more inequitable and unfair to have his body, everybody else's body is displayed, right? But his isn't. It's blurred out. Is that supposed to be equal? Equality, or the strive for equality, not perfection, is for both sides. It's not one side gets an advantage over the other. I think there's no way that is going to be held as an error, if considered an error, to the degree it's going to impact the jury's verdict or the judge's verdict. Again, I keep repeating that because it could be either or. How? This is who the person is. He decided to tattoo the guns on his body. Those are his choices, as with all the other actions that he's being, at this point in time, convicted of. None of the issues that were raised, and I went over some of them before, are going to meet a standard for a new trial. Just because you did not prevail first time out doesn't mean you have a right to go back and rehash evidence. I will say this. When they first submitted the appeal, they did not state in the appeal, this is ineffective counsel. I think had they submitted that as the lead issue, there would have been a slightly better chance of hearing them out. But to now come up, because they said they supplemented the motion. Okay, supplementing a motion might mean we have some dates that are incorrect. A specific fact was not exactly the way initially asserted. Something that's very contained, that's not going to change the actual merits of the appeal, of the motion. You can't continue to throw things in after you submitted an appeal. It has to be some sort of error that you are correcting, not throwing in new issues. So they're trying to get in more issues, and now they're saying ineffective counsel. It's too late at this point, people. If you're going to file an appeal, make sure you have the lead issue in there, and then everything else comes underneath. They're just throwing out bits and pieces of the evidence that they're not satisfied with that was heard during trial. That's not going to get you a new trial. The time to raise those issues was during trial. And if that didn't happen, the lead issue, I'm reasserting, should have been ineffective counsel. And I'm not even saying they would have prevailed on that merit, but I think they would have had a slightly better chance because the attorneys didn't object to certain issues that were raised during the trial. I really do believe, although they could have asserted ineffective counsel, none of the issues were going to be to the level where a person should get a new trial. There is no perfection in any case, whether it's civil or criminal. Perfection is not the goal. Fairness is the goal. And fairness not being compromised to the point where it would impact the verdict. This whole situation really does give every indication that this Lanez character is driven by his compulsion to be in control. I'm not going to listen. Although I signed on the dotted line when I came to the United States, then my presence here was conditional upon my pledge to obey laws. It doesn't mean you can't have a traffic ticket. It can't mean something minor goes down. We're human, but this is far beyond that. These are 3 serious felonies, life-threatening actions. Not only that, he continued the same behavior when he was granted release pending the trial. To him, just to keep paying more bail as he violated meant nothing. That just further solidified his disposition that money can buy me everything. He went out and engaged in related behaviors when he was granted release pending the trial. To him, just to keep paying more bail as he violated meant nothing. That just further solidified his disposition that money can buy me everything. And it was repetitive. This is going to add to the sentence that the judge hands down. Don't forget the August Alsina accusation. That very well may come up during this sentencing hearing. I would be very surprised if it doesn't. They're not going to put in that effort to investigate this criminal offense, both Cook County in Chicago, Illinois, and right here in Los Angeles, both were investigating what happened. So we have an act of violence while out on pre-trial release. True, he hasn't been convicted, but he sure made implicating statements on social media, and August Alsina says he was assaulted. What do you think, people? He's bragging about it, flaunting the fact that he has pre-trial release in complete disregard for the law. Okay, fine, disregard the law. There are eventually going to be consequences for a good number of people. Can you catch everybody? No, but he was caught, he was arrested, didn't even try to put his best foot forward. None. He felt because he has a little bit of money or enough money to afford lawyers that that was going to carry him through. And now that he realizes it's time to face the music, then he wants to start playing the race card. That's something else I'm going to bring up in another video. Now is the time. He's going to face sentencing. There will be prison time. How much? The judge is going to make that decision. But I again think he's going to be lucky if he skates away with anything less than 8 to 10 years, in that range. It remains to be seen. Of course, I'm going to come back on here and revisit what has been going on. I have some other things I'm going to say about this case now that I'm able to see more of the transcripts that have been released. I can speak with some sort of knowledge that is confirmed based on what the transcript actually says versus all of these rumors that have been going around. It's out of control, and I think the judge made a good decision not to broadcast that trial, although it was irritating for me, in the best interest of the trial moving smoothly the way it did, relatively smooth, versus just a media storm that would have been 10,000 times worse. It was already bad. But I'll be sure to come back on here and give a follow-up after the sentencing. In the meantime, you know the drill. Buyer beware.